Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the OpenText Live webinar series. My name is Gretchen Wurgis. I am the Senior Partner Training Manager for OpenText Global Partner Program. And if you ever have any questions about the partner program, about OpenText in general, specific products, you have questions or suggestions for topics for future webinars, or you have any questions at all in relationship to this webinar once it's concluded, you can email us at any time at partners@opentext.com. Today's presentation will be from our OpenText partner, Cassia, on OpenText Translator for Content Suite. But before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that we do record every webinar in our webinar series, and you'll be able to access both the recording for today's webinar as well as historical webinar recordings by going to our events page at opentext.com/events or events and webinars. And there you'll be able to see all webinars that are upcoming, including another one by our partner Cassia, who's presenting today in March. And you'll also be able to see the historical tab that has all of the recordings. If you have any questions during this session, I ask that you please enter it into the Q&A panel, which you can access at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It's not visible. You can click on the three dots at the very bottom under More Options, and you should see it there as something that is visible by clicking on it. And with that, I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. I'm going to hand it over to Sean Murphy.
Well, thank you, Gretchen. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Sean Murphy. I'm the Sales Director for Cassia Content Management, and we are an OpenText Global Technology Partner based here in Ottawa, Canada. And we are a software development company that focuses on enhancing the feature set of OpenText Content Suite. We do that by extending and adding new features to OpenText Content Server features. We streamline business processes, we facilitate user adoption, and we overall maximize your return on investment in your OpenText software. Our company was founded in 2011 by 3 partners, all of who are ex-OpenText developers. And out of the formation of Cassia, several enhancement modules for Content Server were developed, including our OpenText Translator, which we're featuring today. Presenting today is one of our founding partners, Ben Shapiro. He's a renowned implementer of OpenText Content Server and has over 2 decades of experience acting as a lead consultant on a variety of projects spanning a wide range of industries, including financial institutions, oil and gas, and government. And Ben will be showcasing our OpenText Translator for OpenText Content Suite. And this module is for any OpenText user that deals in information in multiple languages. And today we're going to be showcasing several features and benefits, including multilingual metadata, which allows for a true multilingual interface, translated assisted search, which allows you to search in all languages, not just the language of your system, and content previewer, which allows you to preview a document not necessarily in your language. Again, we will have some Q&A at the end of this presentation, but should you have any questions that are not addressed after the demo, please feel free to contact me at sean.murphy@cassiadm.com. Okay, so let's dive right into our demo. I'm going to pass the ball over to Ben. And Ben, let's show how companies can leverage all their multilingual content.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. I'll share my screen here. Let me know when you can see it, please.
We can see it.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, so as Gretchen said, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I want to start with a couple of questions. Do any of you, or your staff, or your users, or even your customers, do you deal with document assets in different languages? Or alternatively, do you, your staff, your users, your customers, anybody that uses your system, do you work in different languages? If this is the case, the question is, how can you be sure to get the most value out of Content Server, the Content Suite, both from a usability and a docu-centric standpoint? So simply said, this is where the OpenText Translator module for Content Server comes in. Our goal, our stated goal, is to multilingualize everything for you. In this webinar, I'll be showing off some of the main features of the OpenText Translator module. We won't be able to show everything in the time available, but we'll hit the highlights. So the first feature I want to show you is the multilingual metadata. This was the genesis of the module. It provides the core functionality that we then build off for the rest of the other features. Consider in a multilingual environment. Core Content Server allows you for item names and descriptions to be in the user's language. That means that if I view this page as an English user, I see the folder structures, etc., in English. But if I'm, for example, a French user, I can have it show up in French. Now that's great for basic browsing, but we do start to have some challenges when metadata is involved. Out of the box, category attributes aren't multilingual, neither the names nor the values. So to give you an example, this is a view without the OpenText Translator module being used. I'll just go to the category page. Now we can see with the category, without the module, you start to have to do some interesting things to try and accommodate the different languages. So for example, here's the attribute name with both in English and French, and drop-downs and so on. You can see that in order to satisfy it for both sets of users, it can get pretty unwieldy. Specifically also when users add content into the system, the last thing we want to do is to make it harder for people to add content into Content Suite. With the metadata like this, we also have a challenge, of course, using it. As you know, two of the most powerful ways of quickly finding information is via facets for quick bulk filtering, for example, and columns for more detailed information. Both of these are based off of the attribute values. Now look at these. So these are based off of the category I just showed you. You can see that because we've had to put both languages, English and French, in the values, we get some strange stuff kind of happening. First, it's sort of visually jarring. Everything's in my language except for these blocks of text. Secondly, we get some truncation. So the values are so long they can't even all show completely on the screen. And in fact, sometimes you won't even see your own language at all. You can consider that this could be a challenge for visually impaired users who may be using screen readers. And this is even with a system that we're only using 2 languages. What if you had 3 or more that you needed to deal with? So that's where the OpenText Translator module comes in from multilingual metadata. Just going to click to a folder that has multilingual attributes assigned. So here you can see I'm in as an English user. Everything is in my own language. I'm going to click to the category view again. So this is a similar category set up the same way as the other one, but here it's in as a multilingual one. I'm an English user. All my attribute names are English. My attribute values are in English, and so on. I'm just going to quickly change my language to French. So as if I was coming in as a French user. I'm going to go back to the category tab again. And you will see now everything is in French. My attribute names, my attribute values, and so on. And when I browse to the folder as a French user, you will see that the values are all showing in French here. This also obviously extends out to the Smart View. When I'm browsing around as a user in the Smart View, the values all show up in my language as well. It's French, and I'll change my language back to English again. Apologies for all of the clicking around with the language changing. That's unfortunately necessary for some of these demos. So I'll just reload this page. And we'll see it comes up with the English values as expected. So what do we make multilingual? We make all the text type attributes multilingual. We didn't touch numbers or user IDs or any of that because that didn't make sense from a multilingual standpoint. So we make text pop-ups, multilingual, text fields, table key lookups, and so on. For text fields, if you have them multilingual, we've added this globe icon. This follows the same standard look and feel of Content Suite for names and descriptions. And when you click it, you see what you expect from the system. All of the different languages that are on the system show up as being able to be have values in there. Now this is a demo system. We have 10 languages defined. It would be very unusual for you to have a system where you do have 10 metadata languages defined, but it does show different things such as the different character sets and so on. Something else you'll see is you'll see this translate button. With the OpenText Translator module, wouldn't be complete obviously without a translate button. When you click that button, it'll show up on any page that has a translatable field. So it shows up on this category page because there's the excuse me, this text field available. It'll also show up on the general tab and so on. Now with this pop-up, you can select your source language and your target language. I'm just going to change this. This is the description, I'll just say, and I'll change it to French. I'll remove that. And when I click Translate, if I click Translate here, it will go to my automated translation and provide it in French. This is also a free-form field. If I know the value, I could type it in as well. But we can use machine translation to get the description as well. Now, the question always comes up, of course, where's the machine translation coming from? So the OpenText Translator module does not do the actual translation itself per se. We connect to various different translation engines that are available, allowing you guys the choice of how you want your of what you want to connect to for translation. So out of the box, we connect to Microsoft Translator or Systran translation. We are soon to release with Google Translate connection as well. And they all provide different options as far as on-prem versus off-prem and so on. The idea being we want to provide you the most flexibility with where you get your translations from. And you may also notice there's this Use Lexicon checkbox. Now this allows you to essentially control the translations that are happening on the system. Within your corporation or your department or what have you, you may have specific controlled language, so certain project names or certain nomenclature that you know needs to be translated or should be translated a specific way. With this checkbox checked, it will allow you to enforce specific translation. So essentially your knowledge manager can provide a list of specific translations that they want enforced, and this will then follow that. And if you have terms that are only partially translated by that, it will obviously go through and finish the translation from whatever the external source that you've selected. Also, one feature of the multilingual metadata is that just because it's a text field does not mean you are forced to have the field multilingual. So there may be examples where you don't want a field multilingualized, if you will. So for example, project names or part codes or such like that don't make sense to be translated. Just because the module might be installed doesn't mean that all the fields need to be need to be multilingual. And one more thing, once this module is installed, you can make existing fields multilingual, and if you do that, it becomes visible and usable immediately. So if I have a text pop-up, for example, I install the module, I can make the values available in the different languages for the users, and it's immediately available. You don't need to do any category upgrade to make it through. It affects the current version of your category. And of course, all of these attributes are fully indexed and searchable. So with that in mind, we can then go on to the next feature that I want to demonstrate. And that is this So we have the multilingual metadata put in, so all the values and attributes are put through in my language of choice. But now I want to find content. And I want to find content that, maybe an English user has put in, maybe a French user or somebody else has put in. But they might not have tagged it in the same language that I use. May not have used the same language in their keywords. Or the document itself might be in a different language, and I might want to do a full text search with my search term. So just an example here, I'm going to do a search for anything tagged with safety reports. Click search, and I get some results back. Now, that's okay, but I'm pretty sure that there are other documents in the system. I'm going to go back. This is a multinational corporation or a multilingual corporation. What I can do is I'm going to click this, check this automatic translation, include automatic translations checkbox. Now when I click search, what the system does is it takes my search term and it translates it to all the different languages that I've configured on the system. So you can see I get a few more results here. And if we look under the covers, if I click back to the advanced search, you can see that my search term, although I searched on safety report in English, it has now translated it to all the different languages on the system. Again, this is a demo system with 10 languages. Your instances likely wouldn't have this many, but it gives you an idea of the different languages. So this specific example is via the metadata. As I said, we can do the same with content search. So if I did a search for some text in the full text search box, it would translate it to all the other languages in the system, which could find content, documents and such that would be perhaps a French document that is a safety report and so on. Our whole idea here is we really want to make it more valuable, more usable for corporations or departments or what that deal with documents in essentially any language, or where the users themselves use a different range of languages in their day-to-day work. So the third feature I'd like to show is this content previewer. Excuse me. So let's say I have from the multilingual metadata, something's being tagged in another language, and I've pulled it up in my search, and I open up the document, and it's in a language that I personally don't understand, I can't read. So here's a document that's come up. I did my safety report search, and I see this. Well, unfortunately, I don't know what this says, but it did come up in my search results, so it may or may not be relevant, or perhaps somebody sent me a link to this document or what have you. Now again, with the OpenText Translator, we provide the ability to automatically translate this content using machine translation. So I can select the language I want to translate it to. I'm English, so I'm going to click English. What it does is it sends this out to be translated, and it comes back. And now here it is. Okay, so it is a safety report, but it's food safety. So in this case, it's less. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It may or may not be appropriate for me, and I can decide what I want to do with it. Now, a couple of things do need to be said at this point. So the first is, obviously, it is machine translation. The idea here is that for you to get an idea of the document, an understanding of what it's about, and as well, this is a transitory document. The idea here is not to create another record, a document of record. This is meant to be completely transitory, such that you don't have any requirements to retain it in any manner. So that's a sort of a drink from the fire hose, high-level overview of the main features. I have some other things I'm going to go through as well. But again, I want to reiterate that with these three features, it really provides a strong ability to leverage assets in different languages and for different communities to work together, even though they may not work in the same language. So again, our quest is to multilingualize everything for you. So in addition to those three primary features, which we like to show, there are several other things that we've done. So we've made workflow multilingual. So consider that if you have a workflow that is going through to various different people who may not speak the same language, your step names can be multilingual, your instructions can be multilingual, and so on. So that when the step comes to the appropriate person, they will see their instructions in the language that they expect. And of course, if you use attributes within the workflow, those are multilingual as well. As well, we've made live reports multilingual. So here's an example, called it the translation report. And now this report is just a looks like a standard live report. My prompts, however, are all I'm English, so my prompts are all in English, and so on. I click update. Excuse me. And I get some results back. Now here I can see my column headings are all in my language of choice, old name, new name, etc. And in fact, I can vary the SQL, the database query underneath the covers for each specific language. So here it says blank, for example. I'm going to just change my language to French and run that again. So the page there. Oops. Here, I'm just actually going to reload the page so it takes the same prompts and so on. So now as a French user, you can see now the title is now French. My prompts are all in French. My column headings are in French. And in fact, again, the SQL has to say Vita instead of blank. Now we're not suggesting that, of course, the SQL query under the table will be translated per se, but it may be that you have, again, with using the English-French example, perhaps you have French information in a different table or a different column from your English. It's different from your German or your Chinese or your Japanese or what have you. The idea is that you can tailor the query to the specific language if you so desire. Change my language back to English. Aside from that, again, with our quest to multilingualize everything for you, we have made records management multilingual. To show that quickly. So under the records detail tab, for example, you can see things again in your own language of choice. So not the codes per se, but the description. So in order to avoid any complications with the codes, they remain the same regardless of the language, but the description will change based on your language. So on. Finally, to help getting towards a more multilingual environment, if you wish to do a bulk translation of your object names and descriptions, we've provided the ability to do that via collections. So let's say you have a folder structure that you wish to, that is in a specific language, and you wish to provide it in another language. What you can do is you can collect those objects. There are many ways to collect objects through browse, search, and so on. And within the collection, we've provided a translate button. What you can do is you can select the objects and click to translate. So it's opened up off screen. What happens then is that it lists the objects to be translated, and you can decide what you're translating from and to, and of course, if you want to do the name and the description, or one or the other, or what have you. This will do a bulk translation, again, a machine translation, which with this translation report, which comes with the module, you can then see what objects have been translated, and your knowledge manager can go in and validate the translation, modify if appropriate. Aside from that, there are a few other small things that we've done to help in a multilingual environment. So for example, news channels can be multilingual. And we have a whole suite of web report tags for getters and setters, we call them, for accessing multilingual content for the attributes. I think that's about it as far as a demonstration is concerned. Sean, is there anything else you'd like me to go here?
Maybe just mention the extended ECM add-on as well.
Right, of course. So again, as our quest to multilingualize everything for you, we do continue to expand the capabilities of the product to more and more other areas, and one of those is the extended ECM. So for example, as you know, I'll just pick SAP for example. If you're using extended ECM with SAP, SAP does understand the concept of multilingual metadata already. So this is compatible. The OpenText Translator module is compatible with that with regards to bringing those in as well. Excuse me, synchronizing those into the system for your extended ECM environment. All right, Sean.
That's it for me. We have a question here online from Tim Allen. He says, very nice functionality. Any thoughts or discussion about porting translation to the Documentum solution as well?
So I'll be honest, that's not the first time we've heard that. We have been content server focused to this point. We are exploring different products as we gain further, I'll say, progress with content server itself. We are looking to determine where to go next from here. And yeah, Documentum has come up a few times over the last couple of years. So that is certainly something that we are putting initial feelers out, particularly with the Smart View sort of combining applications together. It would be a natural progression to extend out there, but currently we don't have an offering for that.
So a reminder, if you do have a question, you can put it into our Q&A panel. We'd be glad to take those questions from you. While we're waiting for questions, Sean, did you want to say something to also mention the March 5th webinar?
So our March 5th webinar is a different module. We have a content security and permissions pack module that helps with permissions and security features. And that will be by myself and another partner of ours, Alex Kololenko. And that should be listed on the upcoming webinar OpenText site. If you wanted to join that one, we'd love to have you attend that presentation as well. I have another follow-up question here from Renita Day. Really cool features. Do all these features work in Smart View as well?
Great question. So most of them do, but not all of them. There are several things that we are working with OpenText directly on with regards to functionality. So for example, there have been questions around modifying multilingual metadata in the Smart View, so adding values in other languages. So we're working with OpenText on that because we want to, again, follow the same look and feel as OpenText. So once they bring that out for object names, we will do it. We'll do a same time release, if you will, from a metadata standpoint. And we have a few features that we're looking to implement in SmartView, such as the assisted search and the translation preview. So yes, there's some in SmartView, but no, not all of it has been put into there yet, but we are looking to do that.
Another question here from Don Nels. May I trouble you to show the list of languages again? So there's two kind of parts to that. There's the languages that the language packs that OpenText has. I believe there's 17 languages. Then we have the metadata languages. We're only limited for the metadata languages by the machine translation. So different languages are supported by each machine translation provider. And as far as language packs go, for languages that aren't supported out of the box by OpenText, we do custom language pack development. So if that's something that you're looking for, you need a language that's not currently supported out of the box, Cassia can take that on as well.
We're not seeing any other questions. Did you want to go ahead and wrap up?
Another question here about the licensing. The licensing is per user, and it's sold directly through OpenText. So you would need to contact your OpenText account executive. There would be several questions and requirements. They would have a consultation with you to see how many users you have and whatnot. If you don't have an account executive, you can contact myself or Gretchen, and we will get one assigned to you right away. And of course, we work very closely with your account executive and solution consultant to make sure that we have an excellent fit and make sure that we're able to solve your translation requirements.
Very good. Thank you so much to Sean and Ben for your presentation today. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance, and we wish you a great rest of your day.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone.